Why does the Lord of the Rings of Power strangely insist on hiding Durin and Disa's little dwarf children? When Robert Aramayo's Elrond made his long-awaited, and slightly unwelcome, return to Moria in the Rings of Power Episode 2, he reunited with old friend Durin IV Owain Arthur, who had since married and become a father. These two young scamps are named Gerda and Gamli, and delight in running their parents ragged. The siblings have appeared twice in the Rings of Power, but haven't appeared at the same time. When Gerda and Gamli debuted in the Rings of Power, they could be heard messing around elsewhere in the family home, but when they actually arrived in person, both kids were wearing oversized busts depicting famous dwarves of yore. Stolen from their father's collection, these heads covered everything but their little legs. Fast forward to the Rings of Power Episode 4, The Great Wave, and these two scamps play a major role in the plot, helping Elrond figure out the key to unlocking Moria's mithril mine. This time, however, Gerda and Gamli can only be heard off-screen, never venturing forth from their bedrooms. It's beginning to feel like the Rings of Power is intentionally obscuring Durin and Disa's dwarf children, but why? Most likely, the Rings of Power will continue finding inventive ways to hide Gerda and Gamli because of the visual challenges posed by depicting dwarf tots in live action. Whether it be the Rings of Power or Peter Jackson's movie trilogy, most Middle-earth dwarves are designed to have plenty of hair and larger facial features, with prosthetic attachments creating the effect that viewers instantly recognize as a Tolkien dwarf. Replicating these familiar qualities on a child poses a huge visual challenge. Durin and Disa's children can't look too human, but putting big features and tufts of hair on two little uns risks a trip down uncanny valley, coming across creepy or awkward in comparison to Moria's adult dwarves. For this reason, the Rings of Power may never show Gerda and Gamli. What do we know about dwarf children in The Lord of the Rings, J. R.R. Tolkien reveals next to nothing about dwarf children in The Lord of the Rings and his various other works on Middle-earth. Perhaps the most useful snippet comes from The War of the Jewels, which states all dwarves have beards from the beginning of their lives. This would suggest Gerda and Gamli are both rocking decent swaths of facial hair and, sure enough, unused concept art for Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy shows digital images of what infant dwarves might look like, complete with light smattering of wispy beard. Rather than attempting a bearded child that ends up looking either unconvincing or unintentionally funny, The Rings of Power appears to be following J. R.R. Tolkien's example in keeping quiet when it comes to dwarf children. As the Rings of Power continues, it'll be interesting to see whether keeping Durin and Disa's children off-screen becomes a running joke, or whether the Amazon series eventually bites the bullet and brings dwarflets into live action. The Rings of Power has already expanded on a sparsely detailed area of Tolkien's dwarven lore by spotlighting females of the race, albeit not without beard-related controversy. It's no great leap to imagine the Amazon series may eventually go further by taking a bold step into Khazad-dûm's kindergarten. Join Amazon Prime. Watch thousands of movies, TV shows anytime. Start free trial now. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power continues Thursday, Friday on Prime Video.